Welcome to another class of Python for app development. Well, I'm going to be showing you in this class on how you'll be able to create a toggle button inside your app or inside your console. Well, in my previous classes, I've shown you how you can create a counter and also how you can make it interactive inside of your app. So in this class, as this is about toggle button, it's also going to be very important to follow up each and every steps. And I'm going to try to show you everything descriptive, and also I'm going to show you step by step, and I'm going to try to make it a lot easier for you to understand. So without any further ado, let's move on with our class by opening up PyCharm on our device. So as you can see, I have opened up PyCharm. And what you're going to basically do is, as we're going to be creating ourselves a toggle button, because when I played this up, you can see we have this button over here, which works as a counter, but we want another toggle button inside of it. So to create a toggle button, we have to stay on the KV file because we are going to be representing something and it is already bypassed with the main py file. So first off, go off the main widget example, and here you're going to create another button. So right after calls, I'm going to create a toggle button. Let's say toggle button, and I want a specific text. Let's say my text is going to be saying button for toggle. So if I just play it out, you'll basically see we are going to have another button. But one thing you can see, Python has now termed it as a toggle button, because when you click on this, it does not stay stable. Instead, what happens, but when you press on this toggle button, it stays on. Okay, so by the end of this class, I'm going to be creating myself up a button so that it helps me to use this multiple button, or the button which will basically help me to use this counter. And if I turn this on and off, it's also going to be functioning with this button over here. So we can turn this into an on-off button. So if this button is turned off, this button will not work. When this button will be turned on, only this will work. Okay, so let's move on with our class. Now let's move on how we are going to create that. Okay, so first thing, what we're going to do is going to be using another, let's say, command or another function, which is called the onState button. Okay, so to create that, I'm going to like move or create another space over here right after our text over here, hit on enter, and right over here I'm going to put in on underscore state. Okay, so my on state is going to be rooted, so I'm going to put in root dot on state, or let's say on toggle. Let's say I'm going to put in on toggle, then underscore, I'm going to put in button, toggle button. Now I want a specific state. Okay, so I'm going to put in state, and right after state, I'm going to open up the parentheses, and then you have to create another function. So open up a parentheses. There we go. So there we go. And then go off to the main py file and make sure you are on the main widget example. Okay, so we're also going to be using a definite function over here. So I'm going to hit on tab over here, and you're going to put in def, then put in a space. I'm going to put in on underscore toggle, on toggle button state. Okay, so you're going to put in the self argument inside, which is going to help us to understand it a lot more better. And then hit on enter, and I'm going to print out a specific text. So I'm going to put in print. Now after print, you're going to open up the parentheses, and inside you're going to put in toggle state, or let's say toggle button. Now if I play it out, you'll basically see if I press on this, it's going to tell me toggle button has been turned on. So if I play it out again, and there we go, toggle button. Now I wanted to say that toggle button is turned on. So if I put in turned on over here, open up the parentheses, turned on. Okay, so play it out, and you'll basically see if I press on this, turned on. Okay, so we are going to be creating ourselves another class so that we can actually derive it and, just use both of these together and connect it both. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to be, let's say I'm going to go off to the kv or the kv file over here, and we're going to customize it a bit more. Okay, because we are going to be using it in such a loop. So for that, we are going to put in the self argument over here, self, and then you have to also, like, import it inside of the python file. But first off, let's just go off to the python file. We have the self function there, which is actually going to use the base of the widget. Okay, so we are going to just customize it just a bit just by using a comma over here, like right over here, comma. We are going to modify it a bit. Let's just say I'm going to use a widget over here instead of using the root toggle button over here. So here I'm going to put in, let's say, widget. There we go. We are using the widget as the base. So I'm going to put in the widget. And inside of the print on turned on, I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to put in a colon over here. Make sure to put in a bit of space. And then I'm going to put in plus, which is going to help us to put in the widget space. Okay. So widget state, not the space, widget dot state. Okay, now you can try playing it out and it will just term it out and display the whole thing. So if I play this, you can see it will just show me like this. You can see widget state is not defined yet. So it will basically turn off. Okay, but when you work on with the button over here, it's going to work. Okay, so button is clicked. Now, as we can see that it basically turns off, we can now use the if and else function so that it will be easier for Python to understand what we want to do. So for that, I'm going to play it out again. And now if I play it, it will basically turn off, right? You can see widget state, it is not still terming it. Okay. So there we go. We have this widget over here, widget state. So let's just go off of the kv file over here. And now you can see we have the root on toggle self. Now I'm going to go off of the main py file again and use my if function. So if I put in if the widget state, widget, now put in dot state over here, put into equal, and if it shows me as normal, now I want it to say, let's say it should be in a Boolean value, which is off, not exactly a Boolean value, but I want to say off. And if I am using the else function, or if the widget function or the widget state says it's down or, not working, it should be termed as on. Okay. So it's going to be hash on. Okay. There we go. I'm going to put into, or let's say, a capital word over here, which is going to be helping us to actually term it a lot more better. And also it's going to be easier for Python to understand it. Okay. Now, as we already have the widget, we can already use it inside of my if function. So inside of my if function on off, I want to say widget text, widget dot text. Okay. Equal, as we are on a Python file, not a kv file. Now I wanted to say, let's say off. And I'm going to do the same thing for on over here. Let's just say I'm going to cut this off. Widget dot text equal, and I want to say it is turned on. Let's just try capitals over here. Okay. So as we have put all of that, now if I play it out, when you play this, you can see this will turn off automatically. Now, if you are basically on this main py file, now let's just play it out again. And if you basically see that this basically turns off and it shows you the widget state over here is the error, what you're going to do is that we have the widget over here as the base, right? But we are on the main py file. So basically just change this underscore over here and turn it into a dot or a full stop, whatever you say. Now, if I play it on, and if I just press on this, you will basically see now it is on. But when it is on, it's still telling me that this is down, turned on and then down. Now, if I go off to the console again, if I press on this, it will say normal, but this is turned off. Okay. So there we go. We have both of these values now working, and we can now interloop both of them together. Okay. So this is basically how you're going to fix it up. And I'm also going to be showing you step by step on how you're going to actually customize this button just the way you want to. Okay. So now as we have displayed our text and also we've got this button working, or let's say the toggle button working. Now, what if I say that I don't want this specific variable to be visible at the first? Okay, you can see button for toggle. I do not want that, but I want a specific text and I also want to customize my toggle button size and I want to make it a bit shorter. So if I want to do that, I have to go off of the kivi file over here and we have to customize it a bit. So after this toggle button, now I'm going to do is going to be putting in text. So after text, colon, and inside the double quotation, I'm going to put in off. Okay. So if I put in off, it will be off from the beginning. Now we also have to customize it a bit on this button for toggle over here. We can remove up that. Let's just remove this. There we go. And play it out. And you'll basically see now it is showing me only off and on, and there's no extra button which is being visible. Now I want to modify the size of my button. So as we're on the kivi file, we have to use size hint. So I'm going to put in size hint, a colon, and here, obviously when you're working with width, it's not going to work. So I'm going to put in none, comma, and then let's say I'm going to put in 0.1 or 0.2, whichever you prefer, which is 20%. Now for the width, I'm going to use my specific width function. And in my width, I'm going to use my display pixel. So let's say I'm going to put in 150 dp. Now, if I play it out, you can see that the button size has been changed. Okay. So that is all for this class on how you'll be able to create yourself up a toggle button and which steps you basically have to follow. Make sure to not miss any part of this because every one of these commands and every part of this, even a dot, even the plus, the comma, even whatever you use as a variable and an argument is very important to make this appear up and work or function properly. Okay. So whatever you want to represent inside of your console, you have to work on this over here. Okay, so there we go. This is basically what we've changed over here. And what you want to make it function properly, you have to put it in the main py file or the Python file to actually function it properly. Okay. So thank you for watching this video up till the very end and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. And I'm also going to be applying or putting in the resource files with this whole course so you can try it on your own. And I'm organizing it in such a way so that it will be easier for you to understand. But if you still have confusions over here, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So let's move on to our next class and let's start incrementing and modifying our toggle button step by step with class.